Welcome to the Trews. The Queen of England's staff are going on strike because of 0-hour contracts and the expectation they do work for free. Is it right that the richest woman in the world wants her staff to work for next to nothing?
Every week the PM attends a private meeting with the Queen.
We wanted to talk about 0-hour contracts, Mum. Get out!
Or has a phone call to update her on the week's events and issues.
David Cameron and the Queen are obviously connected because they're figures of national power, but also directly because they're both advocates of 0-hour contracts.
Even though the distance between Downing Street and Her Majesty is a mere 1,400 yards, the trip is planned with military precision, with armed guards and a police escort.
Just in case people realise how scandalous and shocking and wrong all this is and decide to kill David Cameron and the Queen.
It has a good purpose because you take the three biggest issues of the week, and running through them actually helps you to order your own mind.
Right, I'm going to see the Queen. I better order my mind. Mine should be in order anyway, the Prime Minister of England. And how come it's only 3 issues? Oh God, what am I going to leave out? ISIS or the fact that some MPs are pedos? Let's leave the last one out.
Actually trying to think through the best way of explaining what the big picture, what the government's trying to do and how it's going, it kind of helps you sort it out in your own mind.
How did it go this week, David? It was quite good, as a matter of fact. Some blag on 0-hour contracts, Mum. Don't worry your head about it. So the Queen, the richest woman in the world, is facing industrial action because of appalling low pay that she gives her workers and terrible allowances. Many castle staff are on 14 grand a year. They're on less than a living wage, but are expected to carry extra duties for no pay. Some of the extra duties include giving guided tours to paying visitors. And if you come through to this hallway, there's another bloody great gold chair, look! That room, we're not allowed to go in there, but that's just bits of food that the Queen didn't want. I asked if I could have a bit. She stamped on my hand! The monarchy costs us, you, the taxpayer, 37 million a year, and every year they clock up another million. It's written into the law of our country that the Queen cannot receive less than the previous year. The value of the Queen's properties total 8.1 billion quid. Her personal wealth is 330 million quid. She's already got that, so you'd think you could afford to pay people more than 14 grand a year. You'd think that you could afford to give people more than 0-hour contracts. One has to be frugal. One don't know where one's next 330 million's coming from.
It wasn't me that said it, but someone said no Prime Minister ever leaves those meetings without feeling a few inches taller. I don't know who did say it, but it's definitely true.
David Cameron's weekly visit to the Queen, and not as difficult as his visit to Paxman, where he too used it as an opportunity to back up his belief in 0-hour contracts, one of the blights of our time.
David Cameron, do you know how many food banks there were in this country when you came to power?
I don't have the exact figures.
Look, Jeremy, I've agreed to come here. Don't ask me about poverty. We all know it's bad, but I don't want to look at it.
There were 66 when you came to power. There are now 421. 900,000 people took food parcels last year, free food parcels.
I tried to stare into David Cameron's eyes there to see if I could see a flicker of anything at all. Like if on any level he just thought of 900,000 people going through that process. I've been to some of those food banks. I went to one in Canterbury. They're doing great work and there's real community spirit, and it shows the value of spiritual communities in Britain, how they do practical, fundamental and necessary work. But the people that are using them, it makes people feel bad to receive charity when really it's not their fault. It's because wealth's getting filtered off so the Queen can have 8.1 billion and so that David Cameron can have, he's Prime Minister at the moment, but he's probably got another 3 or 4 jobs he ain't told us about yet.
Obviously, there has been an increase in food bank use. That's partly because of the difficulties we faced as a country.
He ain't facing them as a country. The first syllable might be accurate.
The previous government didn't allow job centres to advertise the existence of food banks. I thought that was a wrong decision. I thought it was a poor decision. So we allowed them to point people towards food banks if they needed them.
There isn't any jobs, but if you fuck off over there, you can have a tin of tuna.
Could you live on a 0-hours contract?
No. What?
This is Paxman doing what he does best, asking one question again and again until someone answers it. Could you live on a 0-hour contract?
Could you live on one?
No, look.
No, what?
As I said,
Could
some
you live
people.
on one?
Look,
I want to create a country.
I want to create a country? You can't even look after the one you got. Bing! It's like he wants them as pets. You didn't look after your last country, David. Oh, come on, let me have another one over here just made up of posh people and corporations. This one's broke. You broke it!
Some people choose a 0 hours contract. If you're a student, for instance, and you want to do some part-time work, a 0 hours contract can work for you.
Look, think of a student. He's a student, he's a maverick. He doesn't want to be tied down to numerous hours of work. He wants to be free. He wants to be out there smoking a doobie in his flip-flops, having a crazy time in the mystery machine, solving crimes with Scooby-Doo.
Some people choose a 0 hours contract, for instance, students.
And you're a student, so you're in incredible debt for your tuition fees for some reason, so you can't really commit to any more than 0 hours because of some other thing. Shut up, Nick! Stop crying!
I want more people to have part-time, not to have part-time work, to have full-time work.
700,000 people in our country are on 0 hour contracts as their main job. The number has doubled in the last 5 years, increasing at a rate of 100,000 jobs per year. So it's like a job epidemic. The numbers of working poor has doubled in the last 3 years. So that means, like people that have got jobs are bloody poor. You know, and that sort of directly contradicts what we're told of like, oh, if you're poor, it's your own fault. So obviously there are some sort of economic conditions that are creating poverty, even for those in work. Now, is there anyone around who's got loads and loads and loads and loads, and let's face it, too much money?
Could you live on a 0 hours contract?
Well, look, that's not the question.
Look at the dumbfounded, lacklustre hopelessness of the people in the audience. The people of Britain sort of just know that what they're watching is absurd and ridiculous. The people of Britain know it's ridiculous that the Queen has people working for her on 0 hour contracts while we give her money. Oh well, we'll just sit here and watch this bullshit roll out, shall we? Whoever it is you vote for, they'll be doing the weekly visit to the woman with the 8 billion. No one's going to be fucking with it.
Ed, Nick, Nigel and Natalie, this is what it's like returning from seeing the Queen as Prime Minister.
So, what is the Queen the monarch of? She is the monarch of inequality. She used to be a symbol of Britain, and she's still a symbol of Britain. A symbol of an unequal, unfair, corrupt, disgusting nation. She sits at its head, smothered in jewels, while the people that put her there and serve her struggle along on nothing, for nothing, with 0 hours. Should the Queen be put on a 0 hour contract? I think she should. That's some true news. Subscribe here.
Nose is a tool that is abused to fool you and to leave you scared and confused. Trews is like the nose. If the nose was true, I want some Trews. Let's have some Trews.